Let's do this thing. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical today. How's it going, everybody? Feeling really tactical this Tuesday? Good. That's what I like to hear. A little later today, just because I was coming back from Crucible, made sure I got delayed a little bit on my trip. It took me about 20 hours to get back, and I literally just walked in the door. So reset all my rig and went live just right now. So here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Is my coverage schedule somewhere? It is. Exclamation point. Calendar, I think. I don't know. Or schedule. It's either calendar or schedule. It's in there somewhere. It's also in the video description, actually. Now I come to think of it, it's literally the second link. If you want to see where all my coverage, all my coverage gets put on there. So we're gonna be live with this. We're gonna be live directly after this of the T5S2 Pod Finals over on Twitch. So if you are interested, come hang out with me over on the Twitchies. That's gonna be Tau versus Black Templar. So kind of a cool matchup over there that we're gonna stream directly immediately after this. Oh, thanks for the follow over on Twitch. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. It looks like my thing's not working. So what I wanted to do today is we had a bunch of majors happen today, and I think it's going to be interesting to talk about some of the not yet discussed results of those majors. We had Invasion 40K, Crucible GT, Dunehammer GT, or Dunehammer Open, I guess is the name of it. So a couple of larger events, all using all of the new rules and such. And so we're going to get a look at what the metagame is going to look like for the next couple of months, probably the next 6 months or so. It looks like they have fixed the results for Crucible GT. Maybe, sort of. I don't know. It's a little bit weird.
Ryan G donated $10 through Super Chat. Could we look at the Jazz Hands Admech? Apparently he basically destroyed the Eldar matchup turn 1 with him not being able to do anything about 10 advance and charging infiltrators with Crete 5s.
So I did a whole thing on that in Best Drivers of 40K yesterday, which is sick. So it was good. I'm very excited that the Corpuscari Electro Priests are back in vogue. In addition to like the big infiltrator brick and stuff like that, pretty cool. Now that you get hit rerolls, you can trigger all your critical effects more easily. So it definitely makes all of those armies a little bit more interesting to play. But yeah, I have a section on that in my Best Armies in 40K. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, as well. Anyway, folks. So what I want to do, looking at Crucible, especially, so the event that I'm just coming back from live streaming, back from Florida. Thanks everybody who came and hang out with me in the chat over there. We were live. We had about almost 1,000 people to chat through most of the weekend. I think between 500 and 800 people somewhere in there, which is wild. That was crazy. So a big thanks to everybody who came in and supported the channel, as well as just hung out in the chat and watched some crazy games happen. And we have a couple of interesting results. The first one being, so first of all, the event format, and I know there was a bunch of questions on this, and I'll grab the link that I created for it. If we go over here, so a lot of people had this question. They actually did not know how this worked, and the answer was that they used a unique format. They broke it into 2 brackets after round 3. So it was 7 total rounds. And after round 3, they had 16 undefeated. So they cut top 16 and put them into their own bracket so they would play only each other. So top 16 was locked in after round 1, and everyone else got to scrap over 17th and lower place. So if you did not go 3-0 in the first 3 rounds, you had no chance of breaking top 16, which is not a format that I'm a huge fan of, but it did make for a very exciting coverage because we got to look at this bracket throughout the entire top 16, because this was prescribed. As soon as the players made top 16, the TOs bracketed, they seeded a bracket of 16 players against each other. So it was first versus last, eventually, essentially all the way up until the grand finals. So that's why if we look at this BCP here, there's a bunch of like 3-0s. I don't really know how they're determining the wins here. They might have just needed to like essentially like alter player scores in order to ensure that they got the top 16. I'm not 100% sure. There was a drop. Unfortunately, the Tau player that we had on in round, I want to say it was round 3, or round 4. No, it was round 3 because it was immediately pre-cut. It qualified for him for the cut. He found out he was playing a rule in his army incredibly wrong. I wish I'd caught it on stream. I didn't catch it on stream, but that's why there's only 15 in the top 16 here. They actually disqualified him after that game. And it was like a round after the cut had happened, so they couldn't add the Votann player who he played against into the cut at that stage, but they did just they cut him out of top 16, which was an unfortunate situation, but it is what it is. Good on them to kind of ensure that they maintain the competitive integrity of the event, because I don't think that it was malicious. I understand the rationale behind like a mistake that was made. I understand how you could make it. It was really embarrassing and like an incredibly stupid mistake. It was essentially the player in question thought that other commanders besides the Cold Star commander improved the baseline stats of their crisis battle suits, which only the Cold Star commander does. It makes you faster. So he assumed that Enforcer battle suits had a 2+ save if an Enforcer commander was joined to the crisis team. It's not how it works. And so throughout the first like 4 rounds of the event, his 2 of his crisis battle suit teams had a 2+ armor save and armor of contempt, and we didn't catch it until after the fact, which is unfortunate. So definitely transformative to the games, but it is what it is. It was caught and it was addressed by the judges, so that was good. Anyway. Adeptus Mechanicus is the top 16. I know. So, yeah, we had Richard Siegler in there, who have a ton of games on. He and I were joking at the event that we streamed almost half of the tournament with Richard Siegler on one of the 2 tables, which was sick. So, huge thanks to him for coming on and playing some games on the live stream. He did lose a 1-point game to David Ozawa. That game, at least like the final 4 battle rounds of that game, which went way past time, by the way. They were granted an extension by the judges to complete their game, was because it had to go to round 5 to determine, it was a 1-point game between the 2, and both the players asked the judges for an extension. It wasn't like one player was like sort of trying to dick the other one over on timing. They both decided that they did not want the game to come down to round timer, and they wanted to play the whole thing out. And so the judges granted they allowed them to go over. But that was insane. That was an insane game. So definitely go check out the VOD of that. It's available for YouTube channel members. I put that one up yesterday, but we also had Tim McCarthy, who we also watched, I believe, on stream, play Nick Anzulatos, I think is his name. And Nick Anzulatos. Yep. We had him on stream a couple times with the Imperial Knights. He played Nick on the live stream, and he was playing Cohort Cybernetica, which was super sick. And here's what I really liked about this particular build is that, well, first of all, a lot of the builds that we're seeing now with Adeptus Mechanicus are sort of reformatting to make the most use of Belisarius Call's rerolls as they possibly can. And in this case, it's kind of transformed Cohort Cybernetica, because it makes the Castellan robots into actually very reasonable melee threats, because they are so fast in this detachment. So they start at move 6. The detachment makes them move 8, thanks to all the updates. Plus, there's a stratagem for 3 additional movement and +1 to advance and charge, I believe is what it is. So essentially, an additional... oh man, is a 39k down? What's a 39k? To double check my recollection of the stratagems there. Did they die? That's unfortunate. I hope not. So it's essentially like they go to effectively move 12, basically, if you are moving and then charging. We're rocking Incendiary Combustors on all of them, so they get a bunch of flamers on the way in as they're moving forward, and then they're running double Castellan Fists in this case. So they have their 3 damage melee attack, and with Twin Linked because they have 2 of them, and then with Belisarius Call's buff, they end up full hit and wound rerolling. Now, the downside of these guys is that they start out at weapon skill 4. So at a baseline, they're not very good at attacking. You can improve that with Conqueror Doctrina, so you can make them 3. But even so, they're still almost 100 points a model. So especially if you can include the Cybernetica Datasmith, they're over 100 points a model, essentially. So you super don't want to be missing. So being able to trade these units, which are like they're 215 points, they're not cheap units, but being able to turn them into their aggressor imperative, the cybernetic ability that gives them +2 attacks instead of doing their protect your protocols, what it's called, or conqueror protocol. So they get a total of 12 attacks plus the data smith. You can give them potentially +1 to hit, plus full hit and wound rerolls. So actually, these two little boys become not only very fast, but also very reasonable at killing like medium vehicles. So they can actually trade and then absorb a bunch of damage from your opponent's army. So he was using these as basically these trading pieces where he would just stage them and then sit them in the middle of the table for until something came within like 19 inches for them to just go randomly charge, which was easy. It's a long threat range. If you have this unit that's relatively small in terms of footprint, right? It's only two like 60 mils, right? And a little infantry model, so you can hide them in weird places, and then they are actually fast enough to close the distance. He had 3 Onager Dune Crawlers, and he was protecting them with a Necro Mechanic. On a Tech Priest Engine Seer, so he could sit next to the vehicles and get Lone Operative, and then he had a damage blank on them. So we had Onager Dune Crawlers just like shooting big anti-tank guns at people, but these guys have a good armor save, plus it's a solid toughness and safe characteristics. And then with a damage blank on top of that, it's pretty effective. Plus, you just a bunch of utilities, Carrion Infiltrators, 2 Scorpius Dune Riders, or Disintegrators. So he can come out, he can basically like force to trade with your opponent over a shooting attack. Oh, thank you for the membership, James Rowe. Appreciate that. He can kind of like trade shots with you, and then anything that moves to the center of the table to try to engage this gun line just gets vaporized by Castellan robots. And it was sick. I think he straight up would have won his game on stream. He walked into a heroic intervention, which was really silly, unfortunately. He was commenting in the comment section of the video after that. He was like, "Thanks for having me on. I feel really silly. I walked into that heroic intervention. Unfortunately, it was an unfortunate unforced error. But I think he straight up would have won that game if he hadn't done that." After the game came down to basically like a 2-point game, and they showcased how cool these Castellan robot units are. They just sit in melee for a while. They just beat the crap out of people, which is super sick. Absolutely rad. We love to see it, chat. Oh yeah, and a feeling pain from the engines here as well on the Onager Dune Crawlers too. So like the combination of defensive mechanics in these things is kind of nutty, which is pretty sick. 39K worked all weekend. Now it's not working. Yeah, that was my experience too. I guess maybe it's down. I don't know. Unfortunate if it is, but so yeah, I don't know. I think that's a pretty sick list. We got to watch it live on stream at least one time. We also had we had a little bit of Deathwatch action going on. Z Martin played Deathwatch. We did have a game on the recorded games with Z. He played also against Imperial Knights actually. But I think it's largely like mostly normal stuff. It's only one Deathwatch veteran squad for a Judiciary to run into. But this is like the Mark Hurdle combo that we saw him popularize, where you use the Beacon Angelus to ramp and ingress for free, and then the Judiciary can heroic intervene and fight first. So after your Deathwatch teams come out of Deep Strike and they shoot the crap out of somebody, your opponent comes to charge them, and you just like gotcha them with this little guy. And it's very good at protecting the units in the center of the battlefield, which is solid. He does have 14 skill teams actually, which is cool. To bring Castellan launchers and some indirect fire. So it's like a bunch of really solid shooting, like solid direct fire shooting. It's a million different profiles, right? Because it's a couple plasma, a couple grenades, a couple bolt rifles. It's all over the place, but then you just get also a bunch of indirect fire from the desolators inside the unit, and then some utility. So not nothing too crazy in Deathwatch today. But we did have a little bit of Emperor's Children at X and 1. So we had 3 X and 1s. They did not make it into the top 16 because they ended up with a win in the rounds 1 to 3. Unfortunately, you could win all 3 games here and then lose all 4 games here. So you could go 3 and 4 and still make top 16 because of the cut. However, these players didn't quite do it. 2 Eldari, shocker, Eldari, pretty good still. And an Emperor's Children, Robert Birmingham, rocking coterie of the conceded, which is cool to see because I do think Emperor's Children in a little bit of a tough spot right now, so it's a little bit tough. There's a Deathwatch game of members. Yeah, it was posted yesterday. I had because of just the way for some reason my microphones didn't want to connect to my recording software. This weekend they worked like fine around 1, and then they just like pooped out and just stopped doing it. So I had to record the audio separately and then put it all together afterwards. So it took me like an extra couple hours to upload the videos this weekend because I had to reassemble them from component parts. But we got there. We figured it out. So all the games are now live from the second table for each round of Crucible. So those are all available on the membership. So this time we're running double winged demon princes, Pledge of Holy Fortune, 2 Lord Exultants, double infractors, and a tormentor. Now, do we have? Is this the? I'm gonna double check myself here because I believe that we also streamed this list on the live stream as well. How many Emperor's Children players were there? Oh, okay. What? All right. Is it only literally? Oh, no, there's a bunch. There's a bunch. Okay, I don't know. I don't think this is the Emperor's Children list that we had on stream, but I guess we could double check, just so I'm not talking out of my butt. No, Andrew Sisk is who we watched in round 1, which is a great game, by the way. Actually, kind of cool to see like it was a non-standard Ultramarines list versus Emperor's Children, a bit of a non-standard Emperor's Children list too, and it went kind of ham, which was sweet. But in this case, we're running a lot of similar stuff, but we don't have any Lord Cacophonous, which was the difference there. So it's a Pledge of Unholy Fortune Demon Prince, which I guess is like, if you're not running Lord Cacophonous, is certainly the place to put it. It's so good offensively and defensively, and especially once you get critical effects active on your Demon Princes, it goes so crazy. Being able to attack 6 times, get like 2 to 3 like lethal sustains once your coterie pledges are active, and then just turn one of the last ones into a lethal sustain is crazy. Like the improvement in damage output is wild. We have 2 Lord Exultants, double Infractors to go with the Lord Exultants, Tormentors, double Chaos Rhinos to deliver them, double Flawless Blades. No transports, I don't believe either, right? Yeah, so it's all Noise Marines. So we can start with the Lord Exultants and the Rhinos with the Infractor teams, trade them, and then run the Noise Marines into the Rhinos to deliver them later or to shoot at the top of the Rhino. However, then we have a bunch of Flawless Blades who are just ground pounding, which is fascinating. The event did use, I will mention, it used a combination of layouts from the chapter-approved document 1 and 6. And I think that these smaller, like, trading units get really heavily buffed by layout 6. Or, by layout 1, not 6. They die in 6, actually, kind of often. John Lennon, and I don't know if he talked about this on the stream, but we were talking, and he was like, I played all my games on layout 1 this weekend, which is wild, because it's just random which layout you get each round. And he was like, I was hoping to get layout 6 because then I would just kill people with Devastator Centurions, but instead I just had to charge them. I had to do it the hard way. Because layout 1's a little bit more melee focused. And having, if we like look at our games, right? Having the capacity to stage models in these little L's here, and especially a Flawless Blade unit that's move 8 with advance and charge, so it has essentially like an 11 to 12 inch baseline movement once it's advancing. Can basically move from this area where it's staged to this area and threaten charges past here. So you can almost threaten from one side to the other with that long movement, right? They can move to here and then they can charge things inside your opponent's other L. I think that that particular terrain set certainly helps these little units get into the battle, because sometimes otherwise they can sometimes run into some trouble. Getting right up the table. No Fulgrim. No, shockingly, there's no Fulgrim. I watch my cat knock a bunch of stuff over in the background. Lilac, what the fuck are you doing? Bill? What? Oh, you gonna come hang out? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Come on up. Come up, you goober. What a cutie pie. What a devilish little kitty cat. Yeah, double Flawless Blades is wild, though. It does give you a little bit more, like, sort of punch into big stuff. And I guess once your rerolls especially are active, they do go kind of crazy, right? Because they're 2+ weapon skill. I'm gonna double check myself on that. They hit on 2's baseline, and then wounded they're anti everything 3+. So once you get your reroll ones to hit and wound active, you should hit 100% of your attacks and wound about 90% of them, right? Yeah, 2+ weapon skill, 4 attack siege. So they attack 12 times with no critical effects even. They should hit 12, wound like 10? No. Oh, I guess like 8.5 or like 9-ish, right? They should roll 8 wounds, 1-ish, and then reroll that one. So it's like 9-ish wounds. So they're handing you 9 wounds at AP3 for 2 damage. Even if you save on 5s, you'll save 3 and still take 12. So a unit of 3 should do 12 damage to like a vehicle, like a 3+8 vehicle, which is enough to kill most vehicles in the game. So I guess realistically, and especially if you've like put a noise marine shot into it or something, they should kill bigger stuff too. So as a trading unit, it does make a ton of sense. It basically like trading one of your, like maybe a utility unit and one of your infractor squads for 2 units of these guys. Or like 1 Lord Cacophonist and 1 infractor team for the 2 units of these guys. This actually help you against like the higher volume targets, the higher like save characteristic stuff that the infractors and the noise marines aren't that good against, or higher toughness, I guess, is really the issue. So it makes sense to me, I suppose. You do have to have the right terrain set, though. I think because they don't have a transport, delivery is the problem, in my opinion, for Flawless Blades. But feels good, man. I don't know. Seems pretty sweet. Is the Flawless Blade buff as good as it sounds? I don't know if it's going to change, like wholesale change the faction. I think in a bigger sense, in like Knights being worse is probably the bigger change for Emperor's Children, but it does help quite a bit. It helps offset the Lord Cacophonist nerf, because I do think that Emperor's Children basically side graded, which feels really bad. I don't understand why they did this, but they were basically like, all right, we're going to buff Flawless Blades, but we also going to nerf your most, like, your second most powerful character. So you're like, well, that's a side grade, right? We have worse noise marines, but we have better melee units. So like realistically, it's not that big. And I think that the thing that's putting Emperor's Children back on the map is the fact that like these super hefty, like high toughness matchups are less relevant or less prevalent, where you're fighting against like a million vehicles, where this army really falls down. Although the Flawless Blades do help you in that matchup, so in fairness, it's not all bad, right? From that specific or from that perspective. I had a 3-man Merca Land Raider in my last tournament. Hell yeah. Yeah, if they have sustained hits, and especially if they have critical 5 sustained hits, this unit's going to absolutely fuck. Like, if all you do is save them for the end of the game, they will kill literally anything, right? Once they're rerolling once they hit, rerolling once they wound, getting additional hits and auto wounds on 5s, right? You can imagine that, like, you average, it's like 12 attacks and you're rerolling 2 hit rolls. So you're probably critting 5-ish times once you're critical 5s. So you get an additional 5 hits. You're only missing 2-ish times. So you're netting 5 extra attacks effectively, and 5 of those automatically wound. So you just hand your opponent 5 AP3 2 damage saves, and then you roll 12 3-ups, rolling 1, so you probably hand them another 9, right? So once rolling 1, so maybe 10. So once you're fully online, a unit of 3 Flawless Blades averages like 24 damage. It like literally doubles their damage output into a lot of targets. After saves, right? If you're saving on 5s or 6s, you're probably gonna drop. You're gonna like make 3 or 4 of those, and then everything else is just 2 damage. So if you're handing them 15 saves, right, it's like 22, 24 damage. Wild, absolute crap, crazy. Hate layout 6. Yeah, I don't love layout 6. It definitely feels too open in the center. And it's like the little L thing you get on the side is like feels too far away from the objective that you're trying to, your expansion objective. Like your expansion objective feels really open. Unless you go first, then you can just like put really light stuff in there. But I guess like terrain that benefits the player going first isn't the end of the world, as long as it's not too crazy, because first place is a little disadvantaged still. I would say. The change to challenger cards probably helps a little bit, but I would say it's still probably 60% in favor of second player on average in highly competitive settings. All right. There was also a little bit of Adeptus Custodes we could talk about. We did watch Ian McKenzie's Custodes on live stream after Crucible. He was in kind of a bad seat into like going first in Purge into Skitaria Hunter cohort, which it feels like would be really bad in Purge, which is actually really good because it never dies. It doesn't die very efficiently. But he played very aggressively and just like kind of got wrapped up, which was unfortunate to watch. But he had a cool build. It ran a big brick of Virtus Praetors, so big unit of 3 plus 2 units of 2 with a Dawn Eagle Jetbike Shield Captain. And it sounds like in a lot of his games, all he was doing was just like utilizing the bounce back on the Shield Captain to like hit a unit and then retreat and get 1 unit for free that way. Gilded Champion that guy back and then try to replicate again. And then as soon as you can do that a second time alongside like a Rampant Ingress off of an LRS Shield Captain, you're kind of like off to the races. You're doing pretty well. He got very unlucky in the game on stream where he charged an Infiltrator unit and then failed the Battle Shock check, which basically totals every single effect that these guys want to be doing, which was unfortunate. But I think I don't know. Maybe he wasn't considering the start of phase Battle Shock, I think, in that case, because it was like disastrous if he fails. And then following that up, we had 2 units of Alaris Custodians. Pretty interesting. So we have 1 unit with the captain, and then 1 unit that could split early to then give you multiple utility units if you need it, which is kind of cool. Plus double Custodian Guard squads. Not taking Kyria Draxus, which is interesting. 2 units of Witch Seekers for utility, and a Prosecutor squad for the back line. Plus a 5-man Custodian Wardens to hop in with a Blade Champion. No characters in the Custodian Guard whatsoever, but they are cheaper now. And I do wonder if people will try to go back to the olden days of just all Custodian Guards everywhere, because they have so much damage output. The downside is that they're very slow, so like actually getting them to the fight's tough. But if you're just like constantly rapid ingressing things, maybe it's okay. But at 40 points per model with the damage output that a single Custodian Guard has, like there might be something there. I'm not sure. I think that's probably why we're seeing them though. Is they are way more efficient than they were previously. It's weird how layout 6 became super popular. Yeah, it's if you consider like it's one of the layouts that has more deployment zones that are good with it, right? That it's like recommended you play with. It's range focused rather than like 1 which is more melee oriented, right? And then also it's like has a bunch. It can play in most deployment zones, and then also it I don't know. I think that's the reason, honestly. It's like a good complement to layout 1, I suppose, but I don't like it either. I would prefer like 2. I think is a little bit more of a happy medium. It's a very similar layout, but it's a little bit more well-rounded. It gives you good staging areas in the middle, but it doesn't play off the corner deployment squad as well, I don't think. So that's like most of the results from the Crucible. I'm happy to hop over into some other tournaments if you wanted to take a peek, and unless there are any factions that people want to particularly break down. Rest of Custodes, resin, refined cast needs to come out in plastic. Yeah, that'd be good. Unfortunately, Dunehammer has like a weird breakdown. Well, I guess it just bracketed itself as well. Did it really actually bracket for replacement? That's wild. Huh. Fascinating. Any X and O Votann? Not to my knowledge. There was any Votann open that won all their games. Don't fight, cats. Might have a little argument in the background. We did have some X1 Votann for sure. A lot of Tyranids as well, randomly. I believe we can talk about the Votann that was Yeah, so over here, this is the Votann we live streamed at Crucible. This is Jarrett. We streamed him round 3, I think. And yeah, we streamed him round 3, and I think that result was reversed. So this result might not be entirely correct, but I think he was X1'd. Did Tim Schneider go 5-0 on Delve? Not to my knowledge, unless it's hosted on a different site. There's like so many sites now that do tournament hosting. I just look at BCP results, but there are some places that do different results, and I'm going to level with you, chat. I do not have the time to go through every single all the results on every single website that has them. So if we played on a non-BCP event, then I don't know about it. But simply, I just don't have the time to go through every single one. I would if they were all at BCP, but I can't hunt and pack down every single different tournament, which is unfortunate. I would prefer that the community like sort of stick with one place, but I don't know. They don't want to. Everybody wants to do their own thing, I guess. So yeah, this is Needguard Oathband. Some interesting inclusions in it. It was running this 5-man of Einherjar Hearthguard, although I talked to Jared after the his game. He said he was probably going to make some changes to this list and like go all in on the heavy infantry rather than this like medium guys. The Einherjar Hearthguard were okay, and basically how he was using them is to like do either a rapid ingress or just a drop and then pay the yield points for an essential sentence to get the sustained hits to try to like burn something early, right? So there's like drop in, try to kill something like a 5-man utility unit or something with these guys. Then because they're just hard enough to kill, right? Because they're like 2+ save. If you're in Fortify Takeover, you can Void Armor them. If you're in cover, they're a 0+ save. They're not also if they're in Fortify Takeover, which this list gets very quickly because it has Dead Reckoning. So it's going to generate 1 yield point per turn baseline, plus 1 from the Administrator Strategist, so 2 per turn, plus 1 from Dead Reckoning in the early turns. So as long as you don't spend anything by basically the end of the first battle round, you could slot into Fortify Takeover, which gives you -1 to be wounded if their strength characteristic is higher than your toughness, which then means the Einherjar Hearthguard can hop in round 2 and be really tanky, right? So your opponent has to overcommit to kill this like 100-point unit, and that gives you things to shoot at. Because the big downside of a lot of the Votann threat right now is that it's very predictable guns, right? You're like, hey, I have a Hekaton Land Fortress. It shoots a big gun, and it's gonna kill you, but it also like moves 10 inches and doesn't have any tricks. So your boat's like, okay, I'll measure 10 inches away, and then I won't go there. But if this unit just like rapid ingress on an objective and killed a unit, you're like, well, now I have to go there to shoot it. So if I shoot it, then I should get shot by 3 land fortresses, or I just let them score. Fuck. I guess I'll do that. So then you have to go actually deal with this thing. And it's not going to die to like, just like random jump pack assault intercessors or something. It takes like an actual unit to kill it. So then you actually you start the trading fight essentially by just dropping these guys in and playing around with them. So that was pretty interesting. It was also rocking 3-man Vulcanite Disintegrators, which I think is becoming very popular with this army, just because like they can hop into a Hekaton Land Fortress alongside the 3-man Brokir Thunderkin. So if you're not running like 5 model Chthonian Berserks inside the land fortresses, the Steeljacks can take the place of them. And so you get a unit that's very difficult to interact with once you're in Fortify Takeover, which the goal is, because you're taking Dead Reckoning and because you're playing Needguard Oathband, so you're generating yield points off kills. As long as you don't burn through all of your yield points really early, you're basically going to lock into Fortify Takeover almost instantaneously, and you're going to be there for the entire game, which means that we're focusing on these like harder to kill infantry in order to get the benefit of that stage, and of that army ability. And these guys can just like sort of vibe. They're 2+ save, they're T6, they're -1 to be wounded most of the time. So your opponent has to really dedicate like strong things to kill them, and if they don't, they just sit on objectives for the entire game, and they just like blast away at you with devastating wounds, because they're gonna plink you for like 3 devastating damage every time they shoot. Not to mention whatever they're doing into with their the actual attack profiles. So it's pretty nifty. He also has a big melee Iron Kid Steeljack unit. I'm less sold on the melee Ironkin Steeljacks, largely because literally every time I've ever seen anyone play them, they fail their charge immediately, because they're so slow. So it's and that actually happened on live stream. I think the game would looked a lot different if the Ironkin Steeljacks had just charged in the middle early and then kind of like forced the fight in the center. They didn't do that though because they're only move 5. So that's a perennial problem with a dedicated melee unit that does not move very quickly. Is not an amazing archetype for a unit, but once they get there, they attack a million times. They're really good at killing light infantry, like T3 infantry. They'll just kill literally an infinite number of them, which helps you in a lot of cases because the army now is kind of low volume, right? The Hearthguard are only shooting like maybe 5 shots if they're lucky. The land fortresses can get pretty crazy if they roll a bunch of sustains, but if they don't, then they're just whatever. The same thing happens with the Brokir Thunderkin, where you have the 6-man that can get 4+ sustained hits too, but their profile's a little inconsistent, and there's only 6 of them. So it's like the volume, the weapon profiles that Votann have now are pretty nice. However, the volume attacks they have are not that great. So having a unit that could just go in and kill like 30 models at a time is very nice. And so the Ironkin Steeljacks definitely help that. And they give you a thing for the 3rd Hekaton Land Fortress to transport. The downside is their speed characteristic. I wish they were faster. I think this unit would be really cool and good if it was faster. If it was like 1 or 2 movement faster, but being move 5 is like or move 6 or whatever. Yeah, is like it's super mid. It's super mid. Classic Tyranid problem. Just moving 6 inches and hoping for the best. Yeah. Downside of Steeljacks, you can't buy them anywhere. Yeah, he had actually he had the melee Steeljacks that he gotten, I think, the normal way. But then he had I don't know what they're called, but it was the Adeptus Mechanicus like automata. The little guys. I don't know. I've literally no idea what they're called. But they're the little 30k guys. I'm trying to find a picture of them. And that's what he was rocking, which is like pretty cool. It fit the vibe perfectly. They look basically the same, and it was great. I don't know, but I have no idea. I don't know what they're named, so I can't find them. But they were the little infantry like robots that 30k Admech have. So, yeah. Which were like just about the same. But what he was saying was that he was kind of like mid on the Arnir Hearthguard. They were good when they came in with their -1 to be wounded buff. But the problem that I think that Jarrett was running into is that they like in a lot of cases just like underswung and didn't do anything when they arrived. There's a lot of it's like 10 plasma shots, which is good, but then just like strength 3 AP 0 on the grenade launchers. So they actually don't do that much when they're with the secondary gun. And if they undercook the plasma a little bit, they roll a couple ones. And then not to mention the fact that the plasma guns are strength 7 instead of 8. So because they don't hazardous, they're like an attenuated plasma shot or whatever. So they wound a lot of things on 3s. So a lot of times they're 3s rolling 1s into 3s, which you could just spike low on and not kill whatever you're shooting at. And so sometimes I think that happened. So he said he was thinking about cutting those and some of the utility and just going all in on more Steeljacks. So like running more big Vulcanite Disintegrator units. To act as like the hammer blow. And he was also talking about using like large, like big 6-man Brokir Thunderkin, which is definitely a take. I don't know if you need the 6-man Brokir Thunderkin because they don't ignore cover innately. They have to shoot things to strip cover from them. So the rest of if you're actually using them to kill big stuff, I guess you could like split fire and you could shoot all the Brokir Thunderkin into one thing and try to kill it, and one dude splits off to shoot something else to strip cover from it. Maybe that's the idea. But the additional Brokir Thunderkin seem like a lesser value to me, but I guess they're only 80 points for 3, right? So adding 160 points worth of Brokir doesn't seem that bad. And then just basically playing this huge stat check where you unlock Fortified Takeover in round 2, and then you force like basically like I don't know what the number would be, like 24 Steeljacks down your opponent's throat, with the -1 to be wounded on them, and then like back them up with Thunderkin and Hekaton land fortresses. And I was like, that actually sounds kind of sweet. I don't know. I don't know if it's good, but it certainly sounds interesting. So I think that could be sweet. You could spike low and not kill you're shooting at, is what it's saying in a nutshell. Listen, dude, that's what we call 10th edition Warhammer 40,000. The edition of only Space Marines are allowed to reroll anything, and everyone's AP2, and everyone else is in cover. So really, you're only AP1, and everyone's a 3+ save. So you're just everyone's a 4+ save all the time. So at any time, you're like, I'm rolling 3s into 3s into 4s and hoping for the best. And at any time, if any of those don't go correctly, you like lose the game. Welcome to 10th edition Warhammer 40,000. You want to talk about Tyranids? You really want to talk about Tyranids, chat? So for realsies, it seemed like, what was I just looking at? I had a bunch of Tyranids. The Invasion 40K. So it's a 100-player major where they went 6 rounds and had a bunch of X1 Tyranids. It was won by Adeptus Mechanicus. This was the list we talked about earlier. With the super cool Corpuscari Electro Priest. So it was like a bunch of Tesla effects with 5-up criticals and reroll hits because it had infiltrators and it also had the Electro Priest. And so you can combo those effects together like in a crazy way. Oh, hi, Cat. So anyway, that's what won. Want to come say hi to chat? What are you doing? She's hiding behind the monitor right now. Come here, you. Chat wants to say hi. Okay, no. Not today, folks. I apologize. Yeah, Sicarians are wild. They've always been a crazy profile because they're also just like it's not quite as bad if you're not in Skitari Hunter cohort where they're stealth. Oh, geez. Just pushed my printer off of. That looks pretty broken. How did you move an entire printer? This cat's like 4 pounds. I don't understand. Wild. Sorry about that. More fluffy than Inky, yeah, because Inky loves being brushed and Lilac hates being brushed. So Lilac is she's a huge dust bunny because she accumulates all of her fuzz and leaves it everywhere instead of being brushed. Like a good cat. Come up and say hi. Come on up. You gonna come up? No. I'm gonna be weird and standoffish for a while. Okay, well, fair enough, I guess. You stop being destructive for a sec? No, never. She will never. There's some stuff that like knocked over in my background. I haven't in my backdrop over here that I haven't fixed yet. That I just found like knocked over when I got
Brian
back
G
in.
donated $5 through Super Chat. He didn't just win. Swept the floor with tough matchups as Admech lol.
Hell yeah. Admech's underrated, I think. And with buffs, I think it's going to be even better for sure. It's just like, it's sort of annoying to play, I think, for a lot of players because it plays like, it plays this like really obnoxious way where it just like forces these like weird medium infantry into like at you. It's like if you had like effective tactical marines. If you're like tactical marines were move 10 and like had a good weapon profile and you played that and your opponent's like, oh, I can kill tactical marines. And you're like, well, yeah, can you kill like 60 of them though? That's the real question. That's how a lot of Adeptus Mechanicus plays. And now they're just backed up by really, really good shooting. Like actual Space Marine shooting. So gonna be good. They're glad mech? I think so. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some Tyranids. Thomas Harkstad 5-1 with Invasion Fleet. With a bunch of Broodlords. I'm so curious. People must be they must know different things that I see with Broodlords. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe it must be terrain dependent. I wonder if we can find what was the terrain for this event. Did it use like WTC or something? The Facebook page. Oh, good. Are there any links to things? Nope, can't see anything. All right, well, get ranked, I guess. Information. Hey, looks like fun. It's a cool venue. I hope this is. Oh, this is Star Wars Legion. Actually, I was like, I hope this isn't the train. That'd be terrible. Rules packs. This is the most highly edited thing I've ever seen. No, it's just CA 2025. Interesting. That's fascinating, chat. It's just a regular terrain layouts. But, like, it seems like in many cases, I guess it depends if you play, like we were just talking about with layout 1 being good for these things. If you play the layouts with, like, good midboard terrain, the Broodlords can stage there and then, like, threaten the midboard. But in Invasion Fleet, they're so slow. If you don't get those terrain drops, they, like, oftentimes can't hit your opponent round 1. Because baseline, if your opponent has no forward operation, they only it's an 8-inch charge to hit a unit on the line. If you're not on the line, if you're like 2 inches back, that's a 9-inch charge. Like nothing else happening. You're just rolling a 9. If you don't give them anything to charge, they just don't go anywhere. They're like, you're paying like 200 and some odd points, 220 points for, which I guess is not too much, but this big do nothing in it. I don't know. It's just interesting to me. If you play like Crucible Battle a lot, though, they can close the distance on turn 1 really easily, and so your opponent has to play around it. So it depends on the terrain and the matchup, I guess. I always just every time I played them in Invasion Fleet, I just like get caught in the middle. I'm like, what am I doing with this unit? Why are they here? But if you know what you're playing as going in, it probably makes sense. We have a Hive Tyrant, Hormigant, Termagants, Biovores. Oh, it's only one big unit of Gene Stealers and a little unit of Gene Stealers. Okay, so we can stage 1 unit center, right? And you can use the scout to like push them up a little bit. Oftentimes the scout can only if you go second, only moves you like 4 inches in order to just give you like a spot to get to future objectives where you're not in line of sight. But the little unit can push aggressively and kill like 5 scouts or something top of 1. Which you don't feel really bad about trading because it's only 150 points. I do like the little unit, I think. That makes sense to me. The list running like 22 G Stealers like blows my mind. But the little 5-mans, I get 5-man. I understand a 5-man. Broodlord is a cool looking model. It's not as cool as the OG Broodlord. I'm OG Broodlord pilled. The current Broodlord looks like shit, in my opinion. I think it looks dumb. We have a Lictor, Neurolictor, double Exocrine, double Maleceptor, double Tyrannifex. So just a bunch of beef in the back line. So we can take table space early with the Gene Stealers and try to clear out stuff that will prevent the Maleceptors from sort of following up. They're usually the role that gets played by Norn Emissaries, but we get more stuff in the army if we're playing Maleceptors in this case. And then we got a bunch of shooting in the back line. I like it. It was a 4th edition Broodlord, I think. It was like super cool. Let's find a picture. I still have 2 of these guys. And this is one of my all-time favorite models from back in the day. Oops. This comes from an article about StarCraft 2. Okay. Not correct, but all right. I love this model. He's just like a big muscle guy. He looks like, I don't know. He looks more impressive than the new one. The new one is like very like xenomorph build, but is the more current version, his fingers are too long and his back is too arched. He's like a I don't know. He looks like a weird kind of like ape guy. I don't like the body conformation of this guy versus this guy. This guy's like upright. He looks like a more evolved version of a Gene Stealer, and this guy looks like I don't know. He looks like a monkey. He's got no nose and the big mouth, and he's yelling. And he's like on a hunchback. Weird looking. StarCraft 2 Broodlords are way cooler. Can we get those in 40k? Yeah, that'd be great. That's what like harpies are supposed to be, where they shoot spore mines at you. So if they have 3 of the metal ones, fuck yeah. I wonder if I have one. I have to rebase them. I've never rebased them. Might be in my group of things here, but I can't find them. But yeah, I like I think this Broodlord's way cooler. It's also a smaller base too. which it's very good, but you're supposed to use the big base now. Oops, I have closed my tab. Excuse me, chat. Let's get back to where we were. That is not all the Tyranids we have to talk about. The Willem Dafoe Broodlord. I'm something of a gene stealer myself. Andre Jordal. Wait, is he playing the same list? Oh, hold up. Is this just Thomas Harkstad? The double Broodlords. Wait a minute. This is Thomas Harkstad with the double Broodlords. Oh, Andre had 20 Gene Stealers. That's the difference. This is Hormagaunts Termagants. Vile Vor 15 Gene Stealers. This is Hormagaunts 20 Gene Stealers. We dropped a Lictor. Otherwise, it's the same. Okay, well. And then it's 20 points over, I think, because the Neurolictors changed. What changed in this case that would let you go 20 points over? I thought it was just Neurolictors that went down. Did something else go down in Tyranids that I wasn't thinking of? Was it Broodlords? I've been talking smack about a unit that just got buffed and is actually better than I remember. Unitorum, help me. Oh, Gene Stealer. 10-man Gene Stealers went down. No wonder why he's playing over. Oh, okay. Well, they went from 150 to 140. I guess that tracks. All right. Okay. Well, I'll buy it. That's cool. Playing triple Assimilator, triple Tyrannofax in XGT. In which detachment is the question? I think the big monster mash in Subterranean Assault's actually really cool. I like the Subterranean Assault lists that are running like Assimilators and stuff. Which is pretty cool to deliver them. Makes a lot of sense to me. I think also there's something to be said about Neurolictors too. Now that Neurolictors are a less unreasonable points value, I think they're actually probably pretty reasonable, pretty okay to include. Subterranean with 2 Trigons. 2 Trigons, no Raveners? Well, you have to have at least 1 Ravener for sure. Any of the units get nerfed? They did not get nerfed. They got buffed. Tyranids did not hit nerfs. They're not good enough for that, unfortunately. No Raveners. You are a brave soldier. I could never in Subterranean Assault. But I mean, I guess like 2 Trigons with a Hive Tyrant, you can up down them for free, and they just keep making tunnels for you anyway. So it's basically the same. It just eats your up down. Oh, here's an Inky. Inky, say hi to chat. Aw, you should be. Whoop. Couldn't find a place to buy them. That is an unfortunate reality right now. Because the old ones got discontinued, right? So nobody has them. And then the new ones were like a new release. So everyone sold them out immediately. So thoughts on Exalted. Are they too good? I don't think so. In fact, yeah, I don't think they're too good. I think that they're a lot of the armies that are doing well for World Eaters right now are actually like Berserker focused armies, and I would be interested to see if more classic Exalted or 8-bound focused World Eaters actually ends up with as high of a representation or as high as of a win rate. Because I think that the people using the big Berserker bricks that like are kind of abusing combat movement mechanics with them are probably going to do consistently pretty well. Whereas the 8-bound lists are like, it's a bunch of trading units, which is like fine, but it's probably a little bit limited on what it can score. We'd have to see. In my gut feeling is that they're not too strong, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Tyranid Monster Mash gets Last Samurai a lot. Like they get shot by a Gatling gun. They would make they could never. They'd make the 2+ save. They're fine. Yeah, Corn Berserkers. Yeah, Corn Berserkers just won a GT. There was another World Eaters undefeated this weekend, but I think it was like more standard. It wasn't all Berserkers, but a lot of the lists I've been seeing recently are at least 30 Berserkers, and then like some number of 8-bound in the back line. Let me find the list that did well. Yeah, Ice Hammer was won by. Well, it was kind of a mix. Ice Hammer was won by Michael Hooper, who played Demon Prince, Juggulord, 20 Berserkers, no Karn, which is actually non-standard, and then 5 units, or 4 units of 8-pound? 2 regular 8-pound, 2 Exalted. Warmongers, Jackals, much Chaos Spawn, Forge Friends. Yeah, I don't know. I personally, I don't feel like the Exalted are too strong, but I certainly could be wrong. Well, we'll have to see with more data. I think people are excited about them because they've been like really since the Codex release, they were super not very good, and now that they have gotten enough buffs, I think people are pretty psyched about the army. Let's run Angron again. Yeah, man. I think that they're like, I don't know. I don't want to assign any like intention to what they did to Angron because it was crazy. Like you're not like just like dead if you run Angron, but you're definitely playing uphill. But like him and Fulgrim both got like just turbo nerf. It's wild. Saw Glavebound and 3 Exalted Charge pick up a Desecrator. Yeah, I think that's largely due to the Slaughterbound, right? I guess it's because of the Exalted 8-bound buff, but the 8-bound alone wouldn't do that, right? What would 2 8-bound in Berserker Warband do to a Desecrator, assuming that they doesn't have melee and doesn't interrupt on them? It's like they're like 5 attacks each with the Berserker buff. I'm gonna have to hop out in a moment here to prep the finals game, chat. They go to 5 attack, strength 10, hitting on 3s. They only hit on 3s. So the units themselves, right, get 8 hits, call it 6 wounds. You save 1. They hand you 15 on your Feel No Pain. So 280 points of 8-bound could kill a Desecrator. If it spikes low on its Feel No Pain. Assuming it's in Infernal Lance, which I think most of them are these days. But it's the Exalted, the Slaughterbound, excuse me, that kind of goes insane. I don't know if they totally considered the Slaughterbound getting the bonus. I don't think they did, honestly. The bonus damage. I'm not opposed to it getting the bonus damage because it makes me kind of annoyed when they make a unit in like intentionally anti-synergistic with its attached characters. That kind of pisses me off. Like the paladins have the same rule where when they charge, paladin weapons get +1 damage, but the rest of the unit doesn't. So you can't put a character in them and buff them. The thing I don't think they considered is that you could be attacking like 12 times. So it's actually potentially another like 8 damage it's adding instead of like, whatever. Whatever other number. Like 3 damage or like if the unit connects to the vehicle and gets 5 attacks through, it's +5 damage against vehicles. You're like, okay, fair enough. But then you consider that this character has a higher strength characteristic and potentially additional buffs from enhancements, and also 10 attacks. You're like, well, actually, we're adding like 8 additional damage to that. And I don't think I don't think they thought about it. I would probably mean that the slaughter bounties go up in points cost. But, all right, chat. I think I'm going to go ahead and hop off momentarily here, but that doesn't mean that the show is over because we're going to go over to Twitch and we're going to watch some 40K. So here's the link to my Twitch. Don't forget to go give me a follow over there. And we're going to watch Tau and Black Templars have at it for the T5SC Pod Finals. So I will see you all over there in about 15 minutes or so when that gets launched. But I will have to go wrangle some players for that momentarily. So thank you all for bearing with me. Thanks for coming and hopping into this unfortunately late Tactical Tuesday. But I will bid you adieu and see you over on the Purple channel for some extra 40K goodness. Cheers, everybody.